Well, hello you. Let's talk about some more minor scales, shall we? So in this video, we're going to cover the primary natural minor scales. Per the list in the last video and in the articles in the description below, we're going to do these scales after the student is comfortable with the secondary yellow major scales. So many words. So once again, we're going to start with the open strings. We're going to start by comparing the parallel major with the parallel minor. And for that, we're going to bring back our trusty friend D major. So what I usually do is, I don't always write it out for them, but I have the student tell me what the notes of D major are, complete with the accidentals. Then I explain to them that we're going to lower the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th scale degree. And I have them identify those. So I say, okay, so what's the 3rd? And they figure out that it's F. I say lower that by a half step. We get F natural. And I tell them that that is the most important one. And I may or may not hint at what's coming with the melodic and the harmonic and say that that's the one that never changes no matter what form of the minor scale we play. I might not. Depends on the student. So then I tell them, okay, let's find 6 and 7. So we find B and C sharp. And I say, okay, lower the B by a half step. What do you get? B flat. Now lower the C by a half step. We get C natural again. And so there we are with the parallel. I do not talk about relatives at this point. I find that throwing just the idea of a minor at them to be a lot of information for some of them. And so I wait for a little bit to introduce the idea of relative minors. For now, I stick with the explanation of the parallel, and then we talk about the finger patterns. So at this point, they know that this is all red, right? The major is all red. So I say, okay, I go string by string, and I say, okay, here's your D string. If you lower that F sharp to an F, what color are you in now? And they should be able to figure out that it's nice and blue with a terribly written E, but that's fine. Then we're going to talk about the A string. I say, okay, so now you go from red, you lower these two by a half step. What have you got now? Green, nice and green. So now by this point, they've done enough 2-octave scales that the idea of mixing of finger patterns shouldn't be an issue. They should be doing literature that has them going all around because they've got that going. They should know that not every string is the same color in every key, right? So this shouldn't be that big of a shock. The thing that might be a little bit weird is the fact that it's only a 1-octave scale, and they may need to get a little bit used to that, but it should be fine. And I will often have them play D major and D minor right next to each other just so they hear the difference, right? Realized I forgot to tune. And then the minor. Nice and simple. From there, we move on to A minor. And G. Now you can do the same comparison with A and G minor. They'll know that it's blue and green. They know to move the finger patterns around. But going through what accidentals shift and which scale degrees change would be a good thing to do just to reinforce it. But you don't have to go as in detail as you do with D. From there, it's on to the first finger. So moving on to the first finger scales, those initial yellow pattern scales for the major key, we're going to start again with E. And so I do that same thing, have them tell me the scale degrees. Now we're going to go through and figure out which ones we lower. So I usually ask them if they remember which scale degrees we lower. And if they don't, sometimes I'll go back to the D minor and have them identify which ones are different between the major and the minor, right? Or sometimes I'll just tell them. So we'll go over, that one doesn't change, so that one's still an F sharp. There's our 3rd scale degree, so that's a nice little G natural. A, B, C sharp, and D, both going to get lowered to a D so C natural and a D natural. Once again, terribly drawn natural signs, but what are you gonna do? Start over. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the other one. So here we start on the D string. You lower that from yellow, it becomes red. Then you go to the A string. Once again, they're going to use their fourth finger here. Do not let them go to the open string because that's dumb. Take the yellow, lower those two. You've got blue. Ta-da! Nice and simple there. And once again, have them play it to hear the difference. So start with the major. Go to minor. Ta-da! Now I said a minute ago that I don't talk about the relative minor with the open string scales. Here's where we're going to do that. So there's a few different ways you can approach this. I always tell them that the parallel minor is going to share the same tonic. And I tell them that the relative is going to share the same key signature and accidentals. So you can start with the idea of the third degree of the minor being the relative major, right? You can start with the whole like 3 half steps apart thing. You can do that. The way that I usually go about it is I have them figure out which major scale has that 1 sharp in it. And that's another reason that I'll wait until we're here at E minor to talk about the relatives, because they should fairly easily get to G major being the one with 1 sharp. So I will usually draw them this whole thing right here so that they have the parallel major, the minor, and then the relative major. And this is a good way to help them reinforce it. So they know what it sounds like, they know what it looks like. Both things. Both things, because they only have 2 senses, yeah. This is also when I talk about how you get from a major key to the relative minor key based on the 6th scale degree, or going backwards 3 half steps. I present both of those ideas to students, and I find that one or the other usually works better for them. I always find it easier to go with the 6th scale degree because my brain is very scale oriented, works very well just to go up to 6 easily. I've had other students and know a lot of other people who it's just easier to go down 3 half steps and their brain works better that way. I don't know why mine takes, like, I can go da 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 very easily, but going the 3 half steps thing, I literally have to use my fingers almost every time. So just whatever works for your student. So now that you've covered the E minor and gotten rid of your whiteboard, we can move on. We're going to go to B minor next. Same order that we did for the major scales. And once again, you can have them play the major and then the minor. That's always a good thing to do. But here's the minor. Ta-da! Then you go down for A. Forgot what form I was playing there for a sec. And just like we did for the majors, when we get to the point where we can put 2 octaves together, we're going to do that. So now it's time for 2 octave A minor. Again, forgot what form I was playing. It's been a long day. Next come the 2nd finger scales, but to do those we have to do the secondary major greens first. Because of the way that the keys work out, the primary minor keys are going to be the notes that are actually the secondary major keys, right? So when we did the primary majors, the 2nd finger scales were F and B flat, right? But F minor and B flat minor give us a lot of accidentals, so we need F sharp and B. And to do that, we have to cover those secondary majors first. So once again, we're going to start on the D string with F sharp this time. And I do the same comparison for every minor scale that I did with the D and the E. I have them tell me the notes of the parallel major, identify the scale degrees, lower those scale degrees, then identify the finger pattern. For second finger scales, they should come to yellow and red. So here's that F sharp. Then we hop over to the G for a nice little B. And now we can cover the 2-octave B. So then we come to the third finger scales, where they should come up with the colors green for the bottom string. I mean, it's only 2 notes, but again, in the context of C minor, you would play in green on that string if you were playing a piece. So have them think green. And then the top 2 strings are going to be yellow for the D and the A in this case. So again, start with that C. Now it's another scale where they're not going to be able to use an open string in it. They can't use that open A, so you got to make sure that they got that. Which is why I always say from the beginning, make them use this guy. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. So then you can hop on over to G minor, which is one of my favorite keys. And then you can do that 2-octave. It's just such a nice key. And there you go. Those are all of the primary natural minor scales. Nice and easy. Next time we're going to talk about the melodics. But as I said in the intro, if you've got a student who you think that the harmonics are going to work better for, go to those first. Skip to that video, which will be out later than the melodic, but that's fine. So make sure you do the liking and the subscribing and all of that so that you know when those videos are coming. And you can follow me on all of the things at that KJ Bell. I'm also that KJ Teaches on TikTok, where I give you some little teachy tips. Happy scaling, everybody. I don't know if this mic picked up the computer notification, but apparently I need to do an update.